Hi. In my latest book, this book here, Wake Up, You Are God in Disguise, The Paradox of Creation, I talk about how the cycles of creation are driven by the core paradox of the infinite and the finite. And some people have asked me if I could explain the paradox, so I'm going to explain it in 5 steps. We already know that everything is energy, and that energy can become matter. E equals mc squared, as Einstein discovered. And energy and matter, they are the 2 forms that consciousness can manifest as. So at the base of everything is mind. This is the first step. All is mind. One cosmic mind at the base of everything. And this mind creates a space-time construct. This whole universe, but it's actually an illusion because all is mind. It's a hologram. And this is something that theoretical physicists, they are finding out, that the whole universe is actually a hologram. That's what their theory is saying. They have a theory called the holographic principle. And their mathematical equations and formulas are actually showing that this theory includes the macro and the microcosmos all in one theory. So I'm going to show a clip now from the TV series The Fabric of the Cosmos. And it's featuring the host Brian Greene, a professor at Columbia University, and he's showing us how the whole world, the whole universe actually can be a hologram.
As we examine the fabric of the cosmos ever more closely, we may well find far more surprises than anyone ever imagined. Take me, for example. I seem real enough, don't I? Well, yes. But surprising new clues are emerging that everything, you and I, and even space itself, may actually be a kind of hologram. That is, everything we see and experience, everything we call our familiar 3-dimensional reality, may be a projection of information that's stored on a thin, distant, 2-dimensional surface. Sort of the way the information for this hologram is stored on this thin piece of plastic. Now, holograms are something we're all familiar with, from the security symbol you find on most credit cards. But the universe is a hologram? That's one of the most drastic revisions to our picture of space and reality ever proposed. And the evidence for it comes from some of the strangest realms of space, black holes.
Step number 2. This mind is infinite because there is no starting point to a mind, and there is no end point to a mind, and there are no boundaries to a mind. So the mind is infinite. And like Einstein said, the infinite is an unknowable state. We can't know and understand the infinite. We can't define it. There is a mass misconception about what the infinite really is. People say that the universe is infinite because it's ever expanding. Well, ever expanding is a size. And then that is actually something we define, that's a quantification. You can't quantify the infinite. It's unknowable. You can't define it. You can't know it. So we can't quantify it. And space and time cannot exist in the infinite because space and time are quantifications. Space is seen and observed, and time is experienced. Both of them are quantifications. We use them to quantify, but you can't quantify the infinite. So the universe can't be infinite. So the universe is finite, but where are the boundaries? Well, there are no boundaries. You will never find the boundaries because all is mind. But if the universe is finite, you would think that it's like a gigantic balloon expanding, so we can just build an incredible spaceship and we can go to the edge of the universe. You will never ever find the edge of the universe because you're always in the middle of this balloon. So when you move, the balloon moves. It's mind. All is mind. So the all is mind, and number two, the mind is infinite, and you can't understand the infinite. You can't have space and time in the infinite. Number three, this mind is conscious. You are part of this mind because all is mind, and you are conscious. I'm conscious. We are all conscious human beings. So this mind is conscious. Okay, so all is mind, the mind is infinite, the mind is conscious, and number four, consciousness requires space and time in order to be conscious. It cannot exist in the infinite. So consciousness must be in the finite world because it requires space and time, and space and time cannot exist in the infinite. Why does consciousness requires space and time? Because if you want to be conscious of something, it must be a feeling of something outside yourself. An element of space is in play. Like the consciousness, it needs to split up in a viewer and a view screen aspect to observe something outside itself, a feeling of something outside itself, a feeling of space between what it's observing and what it's conscious of and itself. You are watching this video, so you have this feeling of space between me in this video and yourself. It's something outside of consciousness, something you observe, a feeling of space. And consciousness also needs time, because when you're watching something, observing something, you are recognizing it. And that's a recognized thought. That's a feedback loop requiring time. It's like throwing a ball at a wall and it comes back. So time and space, they are the elements needed for consciousness to be conscious. So that's why this cosmic mind is creating a space-time construct in order to be conscious, because it needs space and time to move, to be alive, to be conscious, to be aware. And this leads to point number 5, that everything is a paradox because you have an infinite mind, and at the same time this mind is conscious. And consciousness is requiring space and time, which are finite elements. So you have an infinite mind, which is also finite. And that's impossible seen from a logical point of view, because you can't be your own defining opposite. You can't be hot and cold at the same time, not from the same perspective. So this means that we have a mind, it's just like a mind that is both awake and asleep. The sleeping part of the mind is unaware. It's infinite. And the awake mind is conscious, awake, and it's finite. So this mind is both asleep and awake at the same time. And this is the paradox. So the whole cycle of creation is driven by this core paradox of the infinite and the finite. It's just like the infinite is the electricity and the finite is the merry-go-round, like a carousel, because we are moving along a circle all the time, one round, and then consciousness falls and it starts over again, just like watching a movie over and over again. So the infinite is driving the whole process and the finite is going around and around and around. This is the paradox. We are part of the wake finite mind, and we use logic as a tool to understand creation, but you can't understand the infinite. That is why scientists will never ever figure out creation, because they are slaves to logic. Logic is a tool for the finite world. That's it. A tool to understand space and time. You can't use logic to go beyond space and time, to understand what's beyond space and time. That's the magic. So at base, we are magical beings, because creation is more than logic and science and technology. It is magic as well. It's magical at base. So there you have the 5 steps explaining the paradox of creation. All is mind, the mind is infinite, the mind is conscious, consciousness requires space and time, and this leads to number 5, the paradox of a mind that is both infinite and finite at the same time. And that's impossible seen from a logical point of view.